What is going on, RotoGrinders? Dean here at Dean7904 if you want to get all technical on me. It is 2:02 on the East Coast, 11:02 on the West Coast, 1:02 Tennessee time, which, of course, is the time of the flagship show here at RotoGrinders. Of course, 2:02, 2:03 now. You guys are on a bit of a delay. Weird shenanigans. Well, shenanigans is not the right word. Baseball, basketball, they both lock at the same time. So we're bringing in playing the role of baseball character today is one Grant Neefer. Grant, I didn't even give a shout out to your time zone, and we had trouble with time zones pre-show. You're in the lovely state of Colorado, Denver, if you want to get all technical. It's 12. Oh, and Grant just froze and he's gone us. Well, there you go.
Baseball, Scroll Patrol.
What's up, Scroll Patrol? How are things in your world?
Great. Yeah, I guess, I guess we're going to be talking some baseball and basketball. That's awesome.
There are a lot of late scratches. A lot of guys scratched in basketball today, and I guess Grant's just sort of playing along with the theme. He's temporarily scratched. He may pull like a DeAndre Ayton. Maybe he's on his way to his bicycle to – oh, there he is.
Zoom literally just crashed when Devin was counting down.
All right. Well,
he said to drink a beer real fast. He's right back.
Nah, I don't need drink beers. I don't lose no bets.
Well, yeah. Did you win another bet yesterday with Cardi, or you lost? How did that work out for you?
I did. I said that Lyles would get under 5 points.
How many points? Oh, he gave up like 4 runs in the first inning or something like that. Maybe it was the second inning.
The third inning.
Oh, well. So here's the thing. We're going to talk baseball first. Give or take 20, 25. Who knows? Squirrel's going to hang out with us. Maybe he'll chime in with something like a dynamite dropping of some sort. But Squirrel's going to mostly focus on basketball. You're going to focus mostly on baseball, Grant. I think the first thing we have to mention that's very, very important, I'm going to go ahead and drop this link in chat for you guys as far as a baseball perspective, is the weather in Philadelphia. Chief meteorologist Kevin Roth, this is his forecast. I'm not exactly sure when he put this up, but he has orange. This is in chat, by the way, on YouTube. Feel free to like and subscribe. Much appreciate that. You have to like and subscribe to read that article. That's how that works. Not really. It's orange. Orange is not good. That's kind of scary. He's saying in Philadelphia it's a very late start, at least. His current lean is a late start in a play as rain is gradually winding down in the early evening, but there's a chance of a postponement. Of course, Roth will be on crunch time later today. I say later today. It's following us around 3:10, 3:15, 3:20. I'm not sure exactly what time they're going up, but it's going to be a dual sport crunch time as well. If you guys are premium members, you got Andy Means focusing on basketball. You got Roth talking about weather, and then Cheese is Good. Dave Potts will be talking about baseball. So going to be an awesome crunch time for sure. Also, what I mentioned before I dive in and break down this baseball slate, we need some winners, Grant. Tell me what the Sharp Side app is and give me some winners. What do I do? What happens if I get a streak of 5 winners in a row? Do I get anything for that?
You get money. You get FanDuel credit, I believe is what it is. You just have to lock in your bet every single time you want to make a lock bet. You lock it in, you make your bet. You swipe left, you swipe right, you do whatever you want, test your sports betting knowledge. But if you just want to win some money, lock in your bets, get a streak of 5 or longer, and you start making money for every correct pick that you have from that point on. So sign up, get in your lock bets. My lock bet today, over 8.5 for the Dodgers. If the Dodgers money line does drop below 139, I think is what it has to be. If it drops to that,
140.
then you can bet. So it drops to 140. Then bet the Dodgers for your lock bet. But until then, I'm liking the over on the Dodgers game.
It's funny. I thought we were going to be on 2 different sides of it because I like an under that has an 8.5 currently. The Chicago Cubs Milwaukee game is under right now, which is 8.5, which seems a little bit too high. Depends where you're shopping. I don't know if it's 8.5 or 8, but I love under 8.5. We know weather is a big it says a lot when it comes to Wrigley. 122 similar games according to Kevin Ross Weather Edge. Has nothing to do with who's playing in the field, who's pitching, who's batting. Just like same scenario with weather-wise as it was on previous days. 122 times, a decrease of 26% as far as homers, a decrease of 8.8% as far as runs, a decrease of 9.3% as far as ERA. The wind is blowing in. This Milwaukee lineup is dreadful. It looks like we're expecting Corbin Burns to come in for Milwaukee after Anderson. He's a pretty solid pitcher too. That Milwaukee lineup is dreadful. I really, really love the under 8.5, Grant. I know you're in a state where you can legally wager on sports. Bet the under. Get in on that. Did I sell you?
Yeah, you sold me. I'm just going to figure out which site has the best line for it. So, guys, if you're in a legal legal betting state, then I'll let you know who has the best line.
Scroll, you got a winner for us?
Yeah, so it's basketball. But yeah, I really like Memphis tonight. Because Milwaukee, again, it's Milwaukee, but they have nothing to play for. So I'm expecting Memphis to destroy them. The line has actually been moving all day, I believe. So I think it was 1.5 earlier. I got locked in at 2.5 or 3, but it may not be close. I'd be shocked if any regular Milwaukee starter is playing in the second half.
Yeah, of course, Giannis can't play at all because he got the headbutt and he knocked out he didn't knock him out. What was it, Wagner? And I think they're going to see each other in the playoffs too. So there you go. Remember the revenge first round. It's going to be Washington versus Milwaukee, right? Is that correct? I think so.
No, Washington's out of it by a mile.
Oh no, yeah, it's Brooklyn. Okay, my bad. What am I talking about? Yeah, Brooklyn's a terrible team. They have the 8 seed and they're going to be facing Milwaukee, and Orlando's got the 7 seed. All right. Hey, it's daily fantasy sports. We don't care about tomorrow or the playoffs. We care about today and today only. Yeah, so, Grant, I was talking to somebody about this pre-show as far as Philadelphia for baseball. Again, we're going to focus on baseball first. Just a 4-game slate on FanDuel. It's a 5-game slate on DK. DK included that Dodger-Padre game, which I believe is happening, 5 hours after the start of the first game. Sort of interesting how it's going to go down. The Philly game is right at the top, and we're not really going to know as far as weather. And, again, Roth will give a better update the closer we get to lock time. We're almost 2 hours out. Hopefully things will become a little more clear, but my thought process on that game or how to handle that game, Grant, is either all in or all out. I don't want – this is as of right now, weather pending. If it's a big questionable, I don't want one-offs in Philadelphia. Do you agree with that thought process?
I do agree with that thought process, and I do agree with you, which is strange. It's a 5-game slate, so like having random guys, like you don't want some of the game, you want all of the game. Like it's just that simple. You're probably stacking up the Phillies and Arrieta, or you're double stacking. Like that's pretty much my plan, because on a 5-game slate, you're betting on essentially 20% of the games. So ownership is going to be spread out a little bit less than it normally is, and it'll concentrate on most of the other teams. But yeah, you're either going all in on that game or all out on that game. Wait to see what Roth has to say. But if he says it's worth a possibility, then I say you take it.
All right, Grant, let's talk about some pitchers. Again, FanDuel specific, you lose Paddock, you lose Urias if you want to roster one of those guys. So it's only an 8-game slate, and really you start cutting off the pitchers pretty quickly on FanDuel. You obviously only have to roster one. I cannot imagine you roster Brad Anderson. I suppose you can. Anything goofy can happen. He's not going to go deep. Almost definitely going to be relieved by Corbin Burns, who's kind of sort of someone interesting, but I think totally unnecessary. Trevor Williams is, not good, not a lot of strikeouts, but he's a guy that can kind of like weasel his way to 6 innings if everything cracks his way. Disco Stu is perfectly fine, but the price difference between Stu and Darvish is just not enough. I can't do it. Doesn't make any sense. Kyle Hart's a nobody. Well, I'm sorry that Hart's out there. I'm sure he's a great guy and fabulous and all that, but he's like a 27-year-old, he's not a big prospect or anything. This Tampa Bay lineup is rolling in a positive ballpark, so I have no interest in Hart. I'm quickly getting to Yu Darvish. Tell me why we do not play Yu Darvish against a Milwaukee team that's terrible, that strikes out a lot, that's in a ballpark is not positive today because of the wind. A 3.6 run total as far as what we're seeing. Why would I not play Darvish on FanDuel or anywhere?
Because he's going to be so heavily owned. That's the only reason. That's literally the only reason.
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
But there's not really a guy that's going to just destroy him. Like, I'm not on Disco Stu today. I'm not on Paddock. Glass now can absolutely have more points than Darvish, but he's not going to go way over what Darvish has because he's not going to go that late into the game probably. He's been a little bit wild lately, which probably hurts him a little bit more. But there's just not a guy that's going to destroy Darvish's score. Yes, Darvish can have a bad outing and end up with 10 points, but I seriously doubt that he's going to end up with less than that. So Darvish is my number one option. I think I'm just locking him in and then mixing and matching 3 other pitchers as my SP2 over on DK and FanDuel. I'll still use some other pitchers, but not nearly as much. I feel like I might just pretty much lock button in Darvish just because he's not that much more expensive than a lot of other guys. And the prices on everyone else are just not worth it for me.
Yeah, I mean, if there's somebody that's going to be Darvish, it's like you said, it's almost definitely going to be Glass now. He's a guy that probably only throws 90 pitches or so. One negative, this Boston lineup is not good, or it's not been good, but they don't strike out a lot. If you look at that lineup collectively, Grant, there's only 2 guys that strike out 21% or higher in the last 2 seasons versus righties. Collectively, they're at 18.5% as far as striking out. Verdugo leading off at 13.4%. Of course, Glasnow, a big K guy, 32.8%. There's some issues with walks as well, too, which, kind of makes him labor, and he can't go deep. And also he's a young arm, and Tampa is always a bit cautious with those. Maybe he goes 5 or 6 and strikes out 7 or 8. I suppose that's possible. But, yeah, and for tournaments, you absolutely can roster Glass now. And I've not made a lineup on DK yet as far as an SP2. I don't really know how tight the cap is, but he's kind of interesting if you go double barrel. Is that something you've tried to figure out, Grant, or not just yet?
Oh, yeah, you can easily go double barrel over on DK. Like, it's super simple. Stack the Reds and Tampa, and you have the 2 of the highest total games on the slate, and you're paying basically $3.5K for every single batter. It's super easy to do.
Yeah, and again, I mean, Eshelman, we're not rostering, I imagine. Arrieta, Arrieta's like an older version of Trevor Williams, essentially. It's just, not a lot of upside. He can be an innings leader. They're both kind of sort of innings leaders, but they're not going to put up a big score, and they're just a way to open yourself up to a few more expensive bats if that's the route you want to go. On DK, Paddock, he's a really solid arm, but his splits are pretty dramatic, and he's facing a Dodger team that's loaded with a lot of lefty power, so I'd set up the caution flag there. I suppose he could be fine. He could survive it. Not a lot of options out there either. I'm not enthused about it. Maybe another. I want to check back in 5 days, essentially, as far as Paddock. But again, tournaments for sure you can do that. Urias, we talked about Tampa Bay babying their arms. They baby Urias all the time, and the price is egregious at 9.6K. Like I can't do it. I know there's a lot of talent in that arm, but he's another guy that you're begging for 5 innings. Your thoughts as far as the pitchers in LA tonight?
Not going to use either of them. Urias, his numbers are way down from last year. Like his strikeout rate, way down. It has over a 50% hard contact rate to both sides of the plate. His actual ERA is somehow good for no apparent reason. But
Babip. I think it might be Babbitt. I'm not really sure.
I mean, Babbitt is like he has like a 280 WOBA to lefties and like a 210 WOBA to righties. Like some ridiculous numbers that should not happen and will not continue if he keeps pitching like this. He's due for massive, massive regression. I really like the Padres, and then Paddock, like the Dodgers, is just too tough of a lineup to go against and to bet on a pitcher going against. So my player pool for pitchers is currently at 4. It might go to 5, but as of right now, it's at 4.
289 BABIP this year for Urias, and I believe I was reading this in Cheese's musings today. I hope I'm not putting the wrong person on it, but I'm pretty sure it's him who has a 0 home run to fly ball ratio, which is probably going to go up, right, Grant?
That's something that generally doesn't hold true unless you're in Little League.
Did you play Little League baseball? Were you like the kid that just said dingers?
No, I was the kid just hanging out in the outfield, just sitting there picking grass because I was fat and lazy. Yeah.
Oh, I figured you're like a Big Al type. I figured that was your comp. No, you remember you don't talk about Big Al or no?
I was more of a Manny Ramirez, like just hiding in the scoreboard, doing whatever the heck I wanted the entire time. Just having a good old time.
You had a fancy ball field if you had a scoreboard you could hide into as a child, but I guess you were spoiled. Squirrel, you're mostly focusing on basketball. I don't mean to ignore you, but if you want to chime in, feel free to chime in. But otherwise, we can just move on.
Yeah, I'll pass. I mean,
you're just making your lineups for basketball.
I'm in first place in the matinee showdown. Watching at the end of the Wizards Celtics game.
What's going on? I have no idea what's going on in the first 2 games. I didn't play anything. Is there anything weird?
It's we'll get to it in basketball, right? But like you're just having massive bench play.
Well, good luck. Give us an update.
Are the Lakers going to lose?
Yeah, that's quite possible. I think LeBron's only playing the first half.
Yeah.
I will say, just related to the Dodgers Padres, I like the idea sometimes of going with pitchers that are not on another site's slate. So for DraftKings, so if you're looking for an SB2, I actually kind of like Urias, just because a lot of people are going to be reading content that doesn't cover that game because FanDuel doesn't have it on the slate. So I think.
Are you aware that Urias is not good this year?
No, I'm not. See, I'm basketball right now, so I'm not sure on that. But I mean, I know I don't want to go with the just along that train of logic. I don't want to go with Paddock facing the Dodgers. So.
We got a question in chat. Let's just summarize this before we move on. Again, we got to get the basketball as well too. Stay tuned. NBA's the back half of the show. Grant, once again, reiterate. Who are your 4 pitchers you're focusing on today?
I don't think I iterated half of them. Actually, I don't. Yeah, I didn't iterate half of them. So it's obviously Glasnow and Darvish up there at the top. I really like both of them quite a bit. Darvish is pretty much a lock and load for me, and I might end up with 100% exposure to him. Glasnow, I think he has a ton of upside, and it's pretty easy to make a double ace pitcher lineup on DK today, just because of all the value that you have pretty much everywhere. Specifically in the Tampa Bay lineup, every single batter is under 4K outside of Lau. But the other two guys. You said you probably don't need Corbin Burns. Burns throws heat. Burns.
Yeah, but how long is he going to throw heat for?
He did 5.1 innings last time.
Yeah, I'll take the under in 5.1 innings.
That's fine. Who else are you going to use that's under Glasnow?
How much is he on DK? Well, on FanDuel specifically, I can't do it because, only one pitcher. But how much is he on DK?
6.2K.
Okay. I think, but we don't even know he's pitching. We assume he's going to be pitching. He's probably
they've done it with Brett Anderson the last 2 times. I'm going to assume that they will, and hopefully we'll get news that he won't prior to the Pittsburgh game if he's not going to. But I don't know if we will. In any case, he's going to come in at 6% ownership on a 5-game slate where one game might get rained out. That's incredible. That's fantastic. You can't get much better than that. He has a chance to go for 20, which is really all you need. So Corbin Burns.
How does he get to 20?
He did last outing, so suck it, Dean.
Well, I mean, he's got to go 5 innings, which again I don't think is going to happen.
He went 5 innings last time. He got to 13.9 in his first outing. He got to 11.25 in his second outing. He didn't get the win in either of those. He didn't get the win in his third outing, and he got 30 or 23 points. He's got a 37% K rate since the beginning of last year, if I remember correctly. The dude throws heat. Brett Anderson may not go a full 3 innings. He may only go 2, and Burns can come in. If he gets 4 innings at his price tag, I'm fine with it because who in that price range is going to outscore him? Hart? No. Eschman? No. Arrieta? Probably not going to play. Williams? I actually really like Williams today. He's number 4.
Yeah. I don't think you need 20 for the record. I was just I think he can be fine with 10 points. And again, I'd like to get clarity on that, or maybe just sort of guess. But we're assuming that's what the plan is as far as Burns coming in to relieve Anderson, and that again speaks to the under in this game, which feels really, really good to me. Grant, bet the under in that game, 8.5.
I just put $400 on it.
Yeah, get in on that. I think it's a pretty strong wager. All right, well, we got to move. We got to go faster. Give me a couple of catchers you like. Of course,
Well, I didn't talk about my last pitcher. Play Trevor Williams. He's going up against the Reds. The Reds have a decent amount of strikeouts. It's a decent strikeout park. Could go terribly wrong. Absolutely horribly wrong, but he's not going to have a whole lot of ownership. He's been pitching fairly well this season. I really like Trevor Williams as a low-owned GPP guy.
Grant, give me some catchers. Quickly. We got to move, man. There's basketball on deck.
Don't tell me what to do. I don't care if there's basketball. It's irrelevant. We're talking
Squirrel's
baseball.
Right there, man. You're just saying you don't care about Squirrel. This is a man who invited you to his live finals. You slid into his DM.
We slept in the same room together. Not really. I came into his other +1's room and just ate Subway with my phone light on for 20 minutes and passed out. Real Muto's
options.
Real Muto's probably the top option if that game ends up playing. He's expensive, but who cares? Outside of that, Zunino is absolutely the guy I'm going with.
Same.
I mean, dude hits bombs, and he's 2.9K. He's too cheap. I might just lock him in outside of I'm either including my catcher in the stack, have enough money to pay up for Real Muto, or throwing in Zunino. That's the only way to do catcher today. Just lock him in every lineup where you don't want to include the guy from your stack.
Yeah, he gets overpowered by a lot of good pitchers. With this, Kyle Hart does not appear to be a good pitcher. He feels like a AAA pitcher, and Zunino's a guy. There was a reason why he was an uber prospect. He crushed AAA. Maybe Kyle Hart's a quad A guy, but Zunino probably is a quad A hitter, to be fair. All right, let's talk about some first basemen. If assuming we get the all clear, or at least the yellow, and I'll have Hoskins in some lineups. He's been hitting the ball hard. He's been super unlucky. I know Cardi had a thread about this on the Twitter machine today. I've been watching him play. He's super frustrated. Slammed his helmet yesterday. Spiked in the grounded. He 3 double plays yesterday, which is hard to do. You can't even intentionally do that. The day before that, he hit 2 fly balls, 1 dead center, 400 feet, died in the warning track, and another one that died in the warning track. I think to the left field. He's on it. It's just things are not cracking his way. He's due, and I know he's your guy, Hoskins. If not Hoskins, Grant, who do you like at first?
It's super simple. The answer to everything is going to be Tampa Bay. So Jose Martinez or Brasso. Those are the two guys that you swap off if you're not playing Hoskins.
Mm-hmm.
And I honestly, for the price, like them. Like Choi, I think he's in the lineup, right?
Choi is not in the lineup today.
All right.
Brasso, Martinez, Yandy, Renfroe, go ahead.
Yeah, so I need to add that. But like my favorite GPP play on the board at any position is Josh Bell.
Nobody's playing him?
Nobody's playing him. First of all, if you're playing over on Yahoo or FanDuel, use Josh Bell. He's the top play over on those sites. He's like close to minimum price over on Yahoo, I think.
I did rankings over last night, so I have to update them, but I'm pretty sure it was super cheap.
Oh, someone was up late. I tried doing that, and that was apparently did not work.
I was up later than you, apparently.
Yeah, you think you're better than me? So play Josh Bell. Josh Bell's going to hit 2 home runs a day. Like, absolutely going to happen. He's just going to crush. But Josh Bell is my favorite GPP play on the entire slate. Just play him. But if you need less money, then Brasso or Jose Martinez are the 2 top options.
Bell is cheap on FanDuel, too, I believe. Jump in here?
Just to jump in, Josh Bell's got the best home run prop on the slate. And I agree, no one's going to play.
Really?
No one ever plays Pirates, but he's getting a massive ballpark upgrade.
And Disco historically has had issues versus lefty power, and that's there you go, Josh Bell. All right, let's jump. How's your sweat going, by the way, Squirrel?
I think I got knocked out at first, but I think I'm still in third. So it's a $5,000 to first place.
What's 5,000?
Down to 7th.
Sorry to hear that. All right, well, keep us updated. Hopefully things turn around for you. Brandon Lau at second base, keystone position. Yep, or so you can play second base as well too. Who else is jumping out for you at second, or if you want to reiterate those guys? There's some. If you want to call Kissin Hero a leverage play, I suppose you can against Darvish because everybody's been playing Darvish. I also think you can play both. Like today's the day where you can play both guys. Like why not? Both can get there. Talking about second, Grant.
Second place, Brasso. Like he goes. All right, set him. I just hit my mic. Sorry about that, guys. Probably heard something. Van Meter, he's in the lineup. He's batting 8th, which isn't great, but he's so cheap. He's lefty-righty matchup. Those are the only 2 guys that you really should be using outside of including guys in your stack. That's it. Wow, maybe.
On DK, I don't mind Muncy. The Muncy power, left-handed power versus Paddock, I'm good with that. Of course, you can't play him on FanDuel. We got to keep going, Grant. Hot corner, third base. I'm guessing you like 3.1K Yandy Diaz, who plays for the Tampa Bay Rays?
I absolutely do. It's Diaz. Bryant, I don't like the weather, but there's just not a lot of other great options. Segura, again, we don't know if he's going to play at all. Machado, sitting there at 4.2K is my favorite GPP play. Again, Ryu has not been good this season, giving up 50% hard contact to righties so far. Not been striking guys out, getting a little wild, so there's going to be guys on base. So it's those 3, and that's it. Am I going quick enough for you, Dean?
Yeah, well, we got to stay plenty of time for Squirrel and for basketball. That's the people want to hear, and if we can, possibly squeeze in some questions there from chat. What's going on, chat? Feel free to like and subscribe. Much appreciate that. It does help with the old analytics. We're jumping back to shortstop. I wonder who you're going to like at shortstop. There's no Mariners today, so you can't say Mariners. I know you're all over them yesterday.
Don't rub that in. It was looking so good. 3 innings in, and then they stranded 9 runners the rest of the game.
You take the Twitter victory lap on that or no?
I mean, I still took the Twitter victory lap on Lyles getting under 5 points. Cardi still has to take a shot of absinthe.
All right. You're going to kill his liver. Willie Adames is super cheap at 3K on DK. Other shortstops that are kind of jumping out for you. Baez, like you said, the ballpark's not great for homers today, but he still has plenty of power. When he gets a hold of it, it might not make a difference. Freddie Galvis is pretty cheap at 3.3K. Kind of buried in that lineup, but not a lot of options. And again, that Philly game goes. Didi Gregorius, love him a good bit, especially kind of a spend up at 4.7K. Do you have anything to add as far as shortstop, or can we move on?
You can use Bogarts. That's pretty much it.
Talk to me about the outfielders.
So Renfroe is just the nuts today. Just absolutely fantastic play. 3.4K going against a lefty. He's going to just destroy. 3.4K absolute lock and load. Garcia, is he in the lineup? Oh, gosh, they made such a different lineup than I was originally.
Abastiel?
Abastiel
Garcia?
Yeah. No, he's not in the lineup. Gosh, they changed the lineup up so much, and
I don't see Milwaukee's lineup. Their lineup is out?
No, he's – wait, when did
What's going on here, Grant? Well, I think you're flustered.
Oh, gosh. Yeah, sorry, I'm flustered. Half the people that I picked are not in the lineup here. So I'm trying to
No Meadows,
Shogo.
by the way. Meadows is not playing, and just kind of what Tampa Bay, just didn't even cut you off, but Meadows is not in the lineup today for Tampa. Tampa pinch hits more than any other team. Just be on the lookout. Be cautious that one of these Tampa guys gets the hook. If the game situation calls for it, Meadows will jump in there. But all right.
Yeah, also be a little cautious with the Cubs, considering they're going to go lefty the first 3 innings and righty for the next 3 innings.
Mm-hmm.
So be aware of that when you set things. But yeah, Garcia, if he's in the lineup, has that been updated yet?
Milwaukee, I do not see their lineup.
No, it's still not updated yet.
It's a later day. It's a 7 o'clock game, so that's why it's not out. It's not the 4 o'clock game.
He's too cheap, is basically what it is. Harper, if that game ends up playing, is a fantastic play. I know he's expensive, but who cares? He's still Bryce Harper. He's still got a decent spot against a bad pitcher and a bad bullpen. Van Meter is fantastic. Bellinger is way too cheap, especially over on Yahoo. McCutchen, if that game ends up playing, is a fantastic play. Castellanos, I don't mind. It's just whoever's in the Rays lineup you play. So Yoshi is at 2.9K. But yeah, outfielder, it's very different than I thought. Oh, and Senzel is 3.2K going up against Trevor Williams. I love Williams, but Senzel's the guy I'm probably going with.
Nobody loves Trevor Williams. You just like him because he's cheap and he makes things work, I assume, right?
I like him because he's going to get 25 points.
He's not going to get.
Do you want to do a chug beer bet?
I don't have any alcohol or beer in there right now.
I'll send you. Yeah, they have this thing.
I don't want to make
Postmates.
a purchase for this. It's a whole process.
Well, you can do it whenever next time you go to the store, which could be 5 months from now for you.
Yeah,
you.
Whatever.
Next time you order the Instacart, you can get a beer.
All right, you can't just order one beer, can you?
Yeah, you can. It's tall boy.
A la carte. All right, fair enough. I'm going to chug a tall boy now. Summarize the slate for me. What are we looking out for? Of course, the Philadelphia weather is really going to dictate things. We're going to get Rotha in about an hour on Crunch Time, give you guys an update as far as what's going on in Philly. Hopefully we get some more clarity and things are sort of hopefully it clears up because I love that Philly side for what it's worth. But I do think it's an interesting strategy just to not play anybody. And I don't like him as one-offs. I like him as all or nothing, 4 or 5 Phillies or 0 Phillies, depending upon the weather, and you get both sides of it. Give me a summary as far as baseball.
For me, 4 pitchers. You can use Disco Stu Brates as a good play. I'm not using him. You can use Paddock. You can use Arias. I'm not using them. 4 pitchers I'm using 100% Yu Darvish. Then it's going to be sprinkling in Burns, Trevor Williams, and Glass now in. The stacks, you want to absolutely stack up the Rays. I don't care how chalky they are. They're just a fantastic play, and they're all too cheap. Focus on a lot of the guys at the bottom lineup, mostly Yoshi and Zunino. Then for tournaments, Pirates and Padres. Urias has not been good. He's probably not going to be good today. Love the power bats for the Padres, whatever ends up coming out. Be aware that they're probably not going to get the lineup before lock, but play some Padres bats, specifically Tatis Machado, and then stack up the Pirates in big field tournaments. Pirates are going for 8 runs today. I think Stu's going to get crushed. So that's what I'm going with.
All right. Squirrel, how are things in your life? How are things going? Do we bounce back or what?
Nah. I think I'm going to finish in 8th, but that's all right. Let's talk about the main slate, right?
Let's talk about the main slate. 5-game main slate going down. 2 games starting at 4 o'clock. And then we have a 6:30, a 9 o'clock, and a 9 o'clock. The feature game at 9. Well, okay, so it's all about incentive, right? We like to look at core IQ. We like to look at matchups, and I don't care about any of that stuff. And also, you're probably getting nothing in core IQ because a lot of these 5 guys are not playing together, especially in teams that have nothing left to play for at this point. How are we attacking this basketball slate, understanding that 2 games are early, and I guess we'll line lineups for Milwaukee, and Milwaukee is interesting because they face Memphis, and Memphis has all the incentive in the world, and Milwaukee has 0 incentive at all, which speaks to that line moving. I think Memphis is now a 3-point favorite or something like that, and I still like the Memphis side. And, of course, there is absolutely some value on betting on, hey, maybe some shenanigans are going to go down. There is a possibility that San Antonio is eliminated before their game starts, which I think is pretty interesting. I think if it's is it Memphis and Phoenix both win? Are they eliminated? Is that the rules with San Antonio? Did I get that wrong?
I'm not sure. I'd actually thought that it was unlikely that San Antonio would know in time.
Okay.
It would be I think maybe it's possible with the 2-4 p.m. games, but it's probably not likely. I think I'm approaching the slate as though San Antonio has something to play for.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I think they do. And, of course, even if they win, their chances of getting in are super small as well. Phoenix, if nothing else, they want to run the table. They're 7-0, and they can go 8-0, which is awesome. Good for them. They can go 8-0 in the bubble and still most likely not make the playoffs. How are you setting up lineups, understanding that we have a 4-hour break, 5-hour break, 4 o'clock, I think 9 o'clock is the hammer, a dual-pronged hammer, and a game in the middle as far as San Antonio and Utah. So what is your strategy as far as like leaving spaces open, betting on like goofy things happening?
So, yeah, we know that goofy things are going to happen. If you haven't been watching basketball for the last couple of days and you're thinking today you're going to jump in, be aware that this is like the regular end of season NBA, but on steroids. Like teams are putting in, an entirely new lineup to start the second half, and some starters are not seeing any time in the second half at all. I think teams, especially this is going to be a lot of teams' last game. And so if they brought a guy to the bubble and he hasn't appeared on the court yet, like they're going to put him in because they don't want him to waste his time and spend all his time away from family, just for nothing if he hasn't appeared on the court yet. So having said that, it's all about playing the stars from the teams that have something to play for and matching them up with value. And I actually kind of like the value in the later games anyway. One thing I've noticed about Milwaukee is that they're not playing a ton of their bench players large minutes anyway. So they're just basically splitting everybody to about 20 to 24 minutes. So, I'm if I do 150 lineups, I'm probably going to have some Milwaukee value pieces. I kind of like Frank Mason. It looks like George Hill is out, and I can't imagine they're going to be playing a lot of Eric Bledsoe. And Frank Mason went in last game and went kind of crazy on short time. So I'll definitely have some Frank Mason. But, at the same price point, like Nickeil Alexander Walker is going to get a lot of playing time for New Orleans because they're going to be playing their young guys. So, I may kind of just go later on the value in the early games.
I'm a big fan of Nas, but I believe it's his birthday too. That's what somebody snuck in and told me. Yeah, he's obviously one of their big draft picks. That team was good. They had some good pieces. He was kind of sort of blocked by the likes of Holiday. Holiday's not playing, but we'll talk about that game soon enough. Milwaukee, Memphis, 230.5 is the total. Memphis is a 3-point favorite. Like you said, no Giannis Antetokounmpo. I'm looking at our projections right now as far as minutes, and like shout out to our projections team as far as minutes because Milwaukee is really tough. We might get some interesting stuff as far as the lineup when that comes out, about an hour and a half. Well, hopefully we get it before that. We have 11 or 12 guys projected for minutes. Nobody getting more than 23 minutes, and that's what it is. It's just everybody gets their own piece of the pie. Middleton may or may not play. If he does, I can't imagine he plays more than 22 minutes, 23 minutes, 24 minutes. I don't think he plays enough in order to justify the roster spot. Ditto with Lopez, ditto with Bledsoe. Like you said, the most interesting guys are Mason. If DJ Wilson draws the start, I think he's kind of sort of somewhat interesting at 3K, especially in DK. He started the second half last game for what it's worth, and I think he played about 13 or 14 of those minutes. So I think he's somewhat interesting, but the other part of it is you're locking up a roster spot. And if he gets 22 points, that's like quote-unquote value, but I don't know if that's enough value. That's sort of my thought on that. What's your thought if Wilson cracks the lineup?
I've got to be totally honest. He's the worst NBA player I've ever seen. he's terrible. He's very hesitant. Like he has a hard time getting an open rebound without bobbling the ball. He just seems to get very nervous. So I don't love DJ Wilson. Again, if I'm doing 150 lineups, if he's in the starting lineup, then maybe I'm going to have him. He's not going to be in my cash game lineup. He's not going to be, a player that I'm going overweight. I will say the other and Giannis's brother is a possibility as well. Yeah, so he actually got some run last game, and I think they may run him out there kind of as a courtesy to Giannis. Who knows? Hey,
they want Giannis to be as happy as possible because they want him to resign. It should be part of Giannis's contract that they have to keep his brother around for the next 5 years.
Why don't they just sign every one of his brothers?
There's a couple more lurking, right?
There's one on the Lakers.
Okay.
Yeah, and there's another one that's coming up that may be the best of all, according to one article that's probably bull.
A game of 3-on-3, the Antetokounmpos versus the Holidays. Who wins?
Antetokounmpos.
Grant, are you going to answer some questions in chat if people have baseball questions? Can you keep on top of that?
Yeah, guys, if you have any baseball questions, just drop them in chat. We'll stop from time to time, or I'll actually throw them in the chat.
My apologies. It's a great time for the lawn guy to be right outside. If you guys can hear the lawn man, my apologies. All right, so let's talk about Memphis. Memphis, all the incentive in the world. John Morant, assuming this game plays tight, what do we have for projections as far as his minutes? I'm going to guess around 40, which sounds goofy, but yeah, we haven't projected for 40 minutes. I love John Morant today. There is, I guess you want to say a little bit of a sticker shock at 9K on DK, but that's fully justified, especially in a matchup where, again, he's going to play. If this game is this is the last game. This is all that matters. They got to win. How much are we prioritizing him when it comes to comparing him versus Lillard and Booker? I think that's a big conversation this slate.
So for me, I think he's third in line, but for me, you can get all three of them in. And I think that's a big deal. I think, you want to be taking the three ball dominant guards that, from teams that still have something to play for. I mean, I think you can maybe mix in some DeMar DeRozan and DeJounte Murray kind of into that category a little bit. But the main three guys are Lillard, Booker, and then John Morant in that order for me.
That is the slate, right? It's those three guys and then all the cheap value. You could get the big centers, like the big spins and other tournaments, get 2 out of 3 and things like that, which we'll talk about. The Aytons of the world. You can spend up for a guy like Nurkic if you want to. But to me, that's what you want. And there's a lot of cheap bigs that we'll get to.
Exactly. I mean, the slate seems like a mess, but it's actually very straightforward, right? Like you have those three guys that are going to get a huge amount of usage. You're going to mix them in with some really cheap value guys. I kind of like the guys in New Orleans, but you can kind of pick your team. The Brooklyn guys are maybe priced up a little bit too much, but there's maybe some Orlando guys like some Gary Clark or Kem Birch that you might be interested in. And it really, it just plays out nicely where most of the high value guys, high dollar guys are guards. Most of the value guys are forwards. Not Na's the exception there. So I'll definitely be getting him into some lineups. But you can make a very nice lineup that way on both sides.
You put Lillard, Booker, and Morant on DK. You got 4K left to play with, and that's plenty. That is enough. It doesn't sound like it with a 3K floor, but that is enough. Assuming, that's my main strategy. That's my core. And on FanDuel, you get all three very, very easily. It's not hard, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Talk to me about the secondary pieces on Memphis. Valanciunas is one of those centers that not prioritization, but if he's going up against DJ Wilson, like Lopez, he's going to just crush him. He's going to smash him. Slow-mo, Kyle Anderson, not something I need, but especially on FanDuel, you're kind of on a pinch for a certain position. I suppose you can. Brooks, you can. Grayson Allen's a guy who can put 20 real life points in the bucket, which I suppose could be interesting. Fast pacer against Milwaukee, but I have no other prioritizations outside of Morant on this Memphis team. What about you?
Yeah, Valanciunas got some love in the experts survey, but yeah, I'm a little bit worried that Milwaukee's going to be playing a little bit of a faster pace than usual because they're not going to have their regular guys. Or on the flip side, they could have Brook Lopez in there, and it's not as good of a matchup for Valanciunas as DJ Wilson would be. So, I mean, I kind of like Brandon Clark as a tournament pivot a little bit over Valanciunas, but that's just me.
Yeah, you do have money to get Brandon Clark on FanDuel as your power forward too, and power forward's pretty weak. You can make that work, especially if you're spending down at one of the centers. I think there's an opportunity cost at center on FanDuel, but also a guy like Boban or a guy like Bradley can put up 40 if things crack their way. So, yeah, that's kind of what I was messing around with pre-show and trying to figure out those 2v2s and the 3v3s. But as of right now, I have two really cheap guys at power forward in my main lineup, but that may change. All right. Anything else as far as this game, or shall we move on?
We can move on. I'll just throw out there that in tournaments, if you were ever going to leave a ton of money on the salary in basketball, this is the day. Especially on FanDuel. Yes.
Yes. Well, how much is acceptable? Like 2K?
Yeah, I'd do 2K. I'd go even more than that, but it depends. Then you're kind of gambling on one of the big guys really busting. But that's possible.
All right, Dallas, Phoenix, 237.5 is the total. Phoenix is a 9-point favorite. Of course, there's no Porzingis. As of now, to my knowledge, Luka is expected to play. Curry's expected to play. So I think Luka's an interesting one because there is a world where he plays just like 30 minutes this game and 28 minutes and gets there. I don't know what to do with Luka. Do you have a lean, or it's just like you're going to get a sprinkle, and if things happen to crack that way? I'm not taking a stand up as of right now, but as of now, is the outside looking in.
Yeah, I think a sprinkle is exactly the best strategy because he could get there. I think it's unlikely. You're not seeing a lot of starters even playing in the second half for teams that had things wrapped up. So sprinkle, but no more. And especially on DraftKings, the salary is a little bit tighter over there. And I'd really just, rather get the three big guards we talked about. rather than Luka. But yeah, you're all right. I mean, you're never going to see him at so low ownership probably, especially without Porzingis. But I think you're looking at maybe 24 minutes.
Yeah, and we currently got him projected at 28. I would take the under on that, but I'm not saying he's not getting the 28. I don't know. And if you speak as if you know, probably lying, because I don't know who knows how many minutes he's getting outside of maybe Luka and Coach. What's the Jim Carrey? What's the guy's name? What's the coach? No, what's the coach? It doesn't matter. Coach of Dallas.
Carlo?
There you go. Yeah, it looks like Jim Carrey. No, anybody?
John, what's your thoughts on the Mavericks plus 365?
You're asking me or you're asking Squirrel?
I don't care about your advice, Dean.
Oh, I'm right here, man.
I know. That's why I said it to your face.
That's a pretty good number, but that also suggests to me that Luka's going to play less minutes than we think.
I think it's a decent line. I think they get out to an early lead. You can probably hammer the other side afterwards.
That's the move.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hope that Dallas breaks out strong and then just hammer Phoenix and you're good.
Yeah, and Phoenix will be at minus 150 by the end, halfway through the first quarter.
Squirrel, you have a thought on this?
Sorry, I kind of missed the question. You were saying just in terms of the money line taking
Dallas plus 365.
Interesting. Yeah, I don't know, because like Phoenix has the incentive.
Yeah, and Dallas obviously doesn't, but that's still a massive line. I get Phoenix has been hot, but they're probably not as good as they have played. They will continue to do all right, but Dallas, even without Porzingis and with limiting Luka, is probably not a plus 365 dog.
I'm just worried they're just gonna mess around with like Boban, and they're just gonna make.
Oh yeah, if Boban goes in the game, it's a lock.
So Boban probably starts. How much are you prioritizing Boban? I think he's a better play on DK than on FanDuel, as I said before. Money is less of a thing over there, and there's an opportunity across the center. Again, he's a guy that can put up 45 at center. Wouldn't shock any of us. What are you doing with Boban, assuming he starts?
I'm probably looking at DeAndre Ayton as my top center because I think he could get kind of blown up on the defensive end. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. Yeah, I'm going to have a good chunk of Boban if he is starting. It's just tough because, you've seen him start and play 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, again, you see him start and put up 40 points. So who knows?
Yeah, Porzingis is officially ruled out if you guys are not aware. I see people in the chat talking about it as well.
What was your lock bet, John?
That was Memphis. I liked Memphis -3. I will say, like, we just saw some Taco fall from the Celtics, like a good amount of Taco.
How'd that go?
So, yeah, maybe it's a Taco Boban day.
Oh, man. Taco Fall, proud of UCF. All right, so there's some other cheap centers out there, too. Tony Bradley could be interesting as well for Utah. You mentioned Ayton. It's the conference Ayton, Valanciunas, and Nurkic. Rank those three.
That's the exact ranking I would do. I'd do it Ayton, Valanciunas, and then Nurkic. And
where do you have Boban there?
Next.
Right. Yeah, to probably put him next, and then Tony Bradley.
That's kind of. I mean, I did my rankings earlier, and I'm pretty sure it's something like that. And maybe I might have flipped Boban and Bradley just because I think Bradley's minutes are a little bit more secure. But Boban probably has a bigger ceiling, but we don't really know what those minutes are going to be. We don't have to get into it. We're up against it. We love Booker. I don't know if you want to say lock button, but all the incentive in the world. He's going to play, barring wonkiness, 38 minutes unless it's an absolute blowout. Talk to me about the fringe Suns. Cam Johnson, he's got to hit those threes. Rubio, his minutes aren't going to be amazing necessarily, but he's still fine, I suppose, if he fits the rest of your lineup. Your thoughts as far as the peripheral Suns?
So I like the small forwards, Cameron Johnson and Mikal Bridges a little bit better. Rubio is really tough to fit in just because there's so many guards that I really like, and Rubio's chances of putting up just a massive sleep-breaking score are just so much smaller than, say, Booker, Morant, and Damian Lillard.
All right. You got anything else as far as this game, or shall we move on?
Let's move on.
Yeah, I mean, is today a day where we consider a guy, like Carter off the bench, or we consider like a Šarić, or it's just not – I mean, again, if you're playing 150, I suppose they could be sprinkled, but not priorities, right?
So I think Aaron Baines is back for Phoenix, so it's probably going to cut into Saric's minutes, and like the Baines probably isn't going to be seeing a huge chunk of time either. Coming, would be his first game back. So yeah, I'm kind of scratching those guys off my list. And like Phoenix is probably a team you're not going to see do the massive line shift where they're just playing all the bench guys for 20 minutes just because they do have incentive.
Yeah, I mean, I wonder how they're going to handle Baines. Like, I guess he'll be available. Like, we've seen him go on massive runs. Of course, as conditioning, who knows? And it's just like this almost definitely is their last game of the year. There's a chance they make the playoffs, but yeah. All right, let's move on. We're up against the clock. Crunch time, of course, we should mention if you guys are Prey members, will be following us. I don't know the precise time. Devin, tell me in my ear if you have the precise time, but in my head it's like 3:15. There you go, 3:15 on the East Coast. That's 2:15 for you, Grant. I know you have some problems as far as how time zones work.
It's very tough. Time zones are tough.
Wait, that's 1:15 actually. Well, time zones are bad for me. 1:15.
No, I'm in. Yeah, that is 1:15.
I don't know where
we're
you're
both
at.
confused. I'm honestly not sure where I'm at anymore either.
Fair enough. San Antonio, you're answering questions in chat. If people have any baseball questions, Grant's all over it. What's up, chat? Like, subscribe. Grant will answer your questions. Drop them in there. He'll knock them out. San Antonio, Utah, 232.5 is the total. Utah is an 8-point dog. I don't know what's going to happen this game. San Antonio, in theory, they do have incentive to play. They still have a chance to make the playoffs. I just saw somebody in chat asking, who's your second shooting guard? And it's funny because we both like Nah. I have the money for DeRozan, though, so I think I should play DeRozan just from a raw points perspective instead of Nah. This is FanDuel specific. What are you doing with the Spurs? How are you handling this game?
So I'm assuming that they're going to have something to play for, or that they're basically just going to be making plans in the starting lineup, as if they have something to play for. Honestly, it doesn't make a huge difference because I like some of the bench guys anyway, like Keldon Johnson. Maybe Rudy Gay would see some less time and prioritize Keldon Johnson if they really don't have anything to play for, but they're almost the same price anyway, and I kind of like them equally as well. So Lonnie Walker is another guy that maybe prioritize if somehow San Antonio is eliminated. But I'm just assuming that San Antonio is still going to be having something to play for. I think they're 8-point favorites in the game, and probably my favorite is DeMar DeRozan, followed by Dejounte Murray, and then I think Derek White could sneak in there. He's kind of coming off of an injury, and it would be tough to bump one of the point guards that I really like. But he's a kind of a tournament option.
Yeah, that's my thought process. I have Murray over White for that reason. I think Murray's better than White, and also the injury. So I'm probably not going to have White. Pirtle is kind of sort of somewhat interesting, but not really on the slate because I like the really cheap centers or the more expensive centers. He's kind of stuck in the middle, and I guess if you land on a build, he should be fine. But I'm not prioritizing Pirtle. Anything else on San Antonio you want to talk about? Utah and Emmanuel Mudiay, who may play or may not play, and if he does, he may play 30 minutes.
I like Drew Eubanks on San Antonio. He's been putting up pretty good scores and playing a little bit more minutes than he was prior to the bubble. So just a way tournament option, Drew Eubanks on San Antonio.
Yeah, I wouldn't play Eubanks and Pirtle in the same lineup for what it's worth.
Absolutely right.
Yeah.
So moving on to Utah, Tony Bradley is the name because Rudy Gobert is going to be sitting. I think ironically it was Tony Bradley was going to be the chalk on March 11th when Gobert got scratched and kicked off this whole thing. So it's a weird circular pattern to the NBA season. But yeah, I think Tony Bradley is a guy I'm going to have some interest in. If Boban's starting, then that interest maybe diminishes a little bit just because Boban's probably gonna outscore him, frankly. But especially if Boban's not starting, then Tony Bradley is probably one of your value centers for the day. And then I'll be interested to see if there's any kind of talk from the coach prior to the game, because I would think that Jordan Clarkson would be a guy that I would be interested in, maybe in the starting lineup because Conley's out. But we'll see. He's also priced up a little bit, so.
Yeah, I'm looking at our projections right now, and Mudiay is questionable unless that's been updated on the show. But to my knowledge, Mudiay is still questionable. If he is able to play, he probably starts and probably plays about 25 minutes or so. But yeah, our projections are just kind of like we're just waiting. We're kind of in a holding pattern. We have a bunch of dudes at 20 minutes essentially. It feels like a Milwaukee Bucks situation where we don't know, to our knowledge, we don't know if Mitchell's going to play as he's not been ruled out. I don't know why he would play 35 minutes or 30 minutes. I don't know why that would happen. Maybe it will, but it doesn't make sense to me. If guys are ruled out, I think it's worth looking at Oni. Oni is a 3.5K. Is that 3 DK or FanDuel? That's on FanDuel. I think he's 3K or close to 3K on DK. He got some run last time. Otherwise, I mean, I'm not enthused. I think it's going to be a bunch of guys playing around 20 minutes or so, and I'm not excited about this game. Unless we get some coach talk or some clarity. As of right now, Utah is not a team I'm prioritizing. I do like Bradley. We talked about running those three big guards on DK. If you can play Boban and Bradley with them, and all of a sudden you're getting there, right?
Yeah, I'll say Oni is a guy that I truly never heard of prior to the bubble.
Same.
And I found him in some of my lineups recently. So yeah, I mean it's been a crazy bubble experience. But yeah, Oni is a guy that would. I don't know if there's a showdown, but he's a guy that should see some minutes, particularly assuming Moutier is out, Donovan Mitchell's not playing the second half.
Assuming I'm reading the chat right, Killa B is in there. Brett, what's going on, Brett? Hope things are good in your world. They're talking about what I was talking about earlier on the show, and I thought I read this somewhere, but I didn't feel confident to say that it was 100% fact. They're talking about San Antonio, and they're saying if Memphis and Phoenix win, you have to avoid all Spurs, right? Because I think that might eliminate them. I want to get confirmation of that. I'd love to get confirmation of that, and I don't know what Pop's going to do. Otherwise, like maybe White doesn't play if he has that back. You know what I mean? If they have nothing to play for, if they are eliminated, again, this is all sort of speculation, and I probably should have did the math on that one, but I think that's a possibility, and just be cognizant aware of that. And you have till 6:30 to kind of figure that out. And of course, that game goes right. I mean, I don't think they're going to be watching the scoreboard of those games, right before they play. And I assume are they on the same court as one of those? Not really sure how that works. Or is there 3 courts in the bubble? It's at least 2. Anyways, anything else this game that's worth talking about, or shall we move on?
Just throwing in for San Antonio, the prices between the stars and the bench guys that I would like if they are eliminated are probably the closest of any team on the slate. So, yeah, if San Antonio is eliminated and we get word that like DeJounte Murray or DeMar DeRozan is sitting, or Rudy Gay is sitting, then Lonnie Walker and Keldon Johnson match up positionally, and you're not losing a ton of salary, like $1,200.
All right, let's move on. The 2 hammers, dual prong hammer. First one, Portland versus Brooklyn. Of course, Portland has got plenty incentive. They have Damian Lillard. They're facing Brooklyn. Brooklyn wants to be a 500 team. I think that I saw them talking about that, so maybe you can say that's something they're playing for. So there you go. That's their incentive. Damian Lillard, they raised his price, but it's still not high enough, right? We're still playing Dame.
Yeah, they basically couldn't make his price high enough, right? Like, I mean, he's the player of the slate, and there's so much value. I mean, unless they adjusted the minimum price or something, you have to play Damian Lillard.
Yeah. And I know on a previous show we talked about a week or so ago. He was your guy, and he was on a slate where I think I had a nice night with him too, where he was like 5 or 10% owned. But a different slate, obviously, and things have changed dramatically in a week or so. We haven't projected for 40 minutes against Brooklyn. I don't care what the price is, 11.2K. And you have the salary. You might as well spend it. Raw points matter too, and he might even get there on a multiple as well too. The way he's been playing, it's just been phenomenal. McCollum has a back issue, which is somewhat concerning to me. I'm going to pass it off because there's another lawnmower going off next to me. But talk to me about Lillard, and then
that's a weed whacker, Dean.
I'm sorry, I didn't realize we had an expert in. I didn't realize you're still with us, to be honest, Grant. All right. Talking about McCollum and the rest of the pieces on Phoenix, Nurkic too, I suppose.
So McCollum, doesn't just have a back injury. I think he has a broken back. He's trying to play through it. I think, that could be part of the reason you're seeing Damian Lillard playing 40-plus minutes, taking a bunch of shots. So it's going to be tough to go with CJ McCollum. Because, if you lose, have lost having taken the guy with the broken back, right? So if I'm looking further down on that Portland team, I like Carmelo Anthony a lot, especially on FanDuel. He fills the small forward position, and he's kind of a hedge against Damian Lillard. Like, you can play Damian Lillard and play Carmelo Anthony, and everyone's going to have Damian Lillard. So let's say he somehow has a dud. You're not going to be losing that much ground, but Carmelo is going to probably have a great game in that case. So you'd probably zoom over some people. Although I don't think Carmelo Anthony will be tremendously low owned. But I just like Melo on this slate. He's been picking up the scoring when CJ McCollum has him.
236.5 total in the game. Portland 10-point favorite. Do we like any of the pieces on Brooklyn? Any sort of game stack here? LeVert, in theory, if he gets his normal minutes, can be super interesting, and I don't think people are playing him. Ditto with Allen. We talked about the 3 big centers we like. We like some of the cheap centers as well too. And Bradley and potentially Boban. You could spend up on Nurkic. You can spend up on Valanciunas. You can spend up on Ayton. People aren't playing Allen, and Allen, if he does play 35 minutes or 30 minutes, he can get there. It's hard to justify in a cash game, but I get it for tournaments. What are you doing with Brooklyn?
I don't really like Brooklyn a lot, just because I don't think their starters are going to be playing that big minutes. They can talk all they want about, they want to get the win and be 500 or whatever they're going to say. The reality is, if Karis LeVert or Jared Allen is out there in the second half and gets injured and isn't available for the playoffs, I mean, that the coach is going to get fired, right? Like that's a fireable offense. These guys should not be seeing the second half. And the problem is their bench guys. They kind of started this, early, started the process of benching their starters. So their bench guys have kind of been priced up already. You've got like Justin Anderson, 3,300, but he's kind of terrible. And the other guys like Tyler Johnson, TLC, Jeremiah Martin have already been priced up, whereas guys like New Orleans have not been.
Yeah, so Jacques Vaughn, the quote was, the starters will be available. The starters are available at the start of the game.
Right.
But that's not, I mean, the tea leaves, right? Tea leaves are suggesting be concerned, be wary. Kuruks, he's one of those guys that kind of makes things work on FanDuel just because the power forward's terrible. I'm not enthused. Wilson's another guy who you hated. I think if he draws to start, he's kind of sort of somewhat interesting. Like Melly is in that conversation we'll talk about in a second. Power forward in FanDuel is terrible. What are you doing there specifically? Because I don't know.
Yeah, I don't like DJ Wilson, like I said. Kuruks is a possibility. He's just been a very low usage guy. But then again, he won't be without the regular starters, and he has had a couple of nice games in the bubble. But I like Melly probably better than both those guys. So I'd rank the cheap power forwards like Melly, Kuruks, and then DJ Wilson.
I think I like Birch better than all those guys, which is just a gross sentence to say as my favorite power forward. Again, it's all a cluster, and I don't feel good about any of it. Melly, I could have played Wilson the last slate, and I played Melly instead, and that went poorly. Whatever. It's hard to figure, and I don't know why New Orleans is going to want to play Melly. He's like a 27, 30-year-old guy, and then there's the youth movement, and we'll talk about it. Why would they not give run to Jackson Hayes? Like, why? I don't understand why they're not giving him run. Like, why not? You're going nowhere. You got anything else this game before we talk about the second part of the dual prong hammer? New Orleans and Orlando, 227.5 is the total. New Orleans is a 4-point dog here. This game is going to be. This is of the games that predict minutes. This one feels really, really tricky. It's all yours. Have at it. What do you want?
Yeah, just so quickly, I mean, this is the game. This is the one-off game where neither team has anything to play for, right? Orlando's already in. New Orleans is already out. I think New Orleans is going to be going with their young guys. And that actually is somewhat easy to predict because I think it's going to be Nah. I think it's going to be Jackson Hayes. I do think you'll see Melly in there. You got to pay attention to Josh Hart's status. He's questionable, but I imagine he's questionable. He's probably not playing.
Yeah, I like Nah as is. If Hart doesn't play, I really like Nah. I think, and why not give the kid 30 minutes? I don't feel good about Lonzo. Just don't feel good about it. I don't know why. They ruled out Holiday. I'm not really sure why Lonzo's playing. At least as of now, I think he's playing. On the Orlando side, I just can't see Vuk getting 30 minutes. Like, we talk about all the centers we like. I'm not playing Vuk as of now. Like, that's not unless I'm like desperate and I need a pivot. Is Vuk in your plans or no? Like, for me, he's a no-go.
No, I don't know if I'll have him in my player pool at all. Just because, I think it's very unlikely you see starters from teams that have nothing to play for playing anything more than 24 minutes.
Okafor got some good run last game. I don't know why they're playing him. Like, I would think they would play Hayes over him. That's sort of my thought there. On the Orlando side, maybe Clark gets some run. Fultz is kind of sort of somewhat interesting. And again, I think Birch, this is FanDuel specific more so probably just because power forward's so dreadful. Give me your thoughts. I want a Fultz take because we talk about all the big spend guards we like, and you can only roster so many guards, and that's what kind of leaves from the outside looking in for me.
Yeah, so he's kind of coming back from an injury, but he's been putting up big numbers in kind of limited minutes. I don't know. He cost me a live final seat earlier this week. So
number 33.
Yeah, exactly. Would have been number 33. It would have been 2 on one day. So not the biggest Markelle Fultz fan. I think he might have been a little dinged up in the last game as well. I think he might have run into someone. So I don't know. This game's a little bit of a mess on the Orlando side. I'm probably going to be sticking more with the reserve Orlando big men, like you mentioned, Kem Birch and Gary Clark.
Yeah, and like Johnson could get some run. Frazier can get some run. I don't know. And it's also this game starts in 6 hours, and there's probably going to be more information that becomes helpful and that we really can't foresee as of right now. But as of right now, Wondu, Augustin, like Ennis, Clark, they're all going to get around 20-ish minutes or so, and I'm not prioritizing any of that. If I get some clarity, sure, maybe. If I'm desperate and I just I kind of push back and just not play guys and hopefully buy some more time, maybe I'll be forced to play some of these dudes, but I'm not enthused about the prospect of any of it. Grant, you're still with us, right? Or
yep,
no?
Just answering questions in chat.
All right, we're going to step aside in a minute or so because we got to make way for crunch time. Crunch time today, baseball and basketball. Means he's got your baseball. Wait, no, means he does not. Means he's got your basketball. Dave Potts, Jesus good, he's got your baseball. And Kevin Roth, chief meteorologist, we need him too because weather in Philadelphia is very, very important on this baseball slate. Just to walk it back for a second, Grant, give me your favorite baseball plays today and then summarize the slate for us, Squirrel, as far as basketball.
Favorite plays in baseball, Glasnow and Darvish for pitchers. For GPPs, I'm using Williams and Burns. For GPPs, I really like Pittsburgh as a stack. Josh Bell is one of my favorite plays on the board. For smaller tournaments, the Rays are an absolute lock and load. You can play anyone 1 through 9. Specifically, I like, Yoshi and Zunino there at the bottom.
Squirrel, basketball, what do you have for us?
So yeah, you're just mixing and matching the ball-dominant guards from the teams that have something left to play for with the value plays from the other teams, particularly like the value plays on New Orleans. John Morant, Devin Booker, and especially Damian Lillard.
I got a 2-for question in the chat for you. Na and Nurkic versus DeRozan and Boban.
So it's going to be a little bit news dependent. I probably like the second one. I think San Antonio will still have something to play for. But you got to make sure Boban's in the starting lineup.
Yeah, make sure San Antonio's got something to play for and make sure Boban is starting, and then we like that side. They are asking about Joe Harris minutes. I just don't know. I don't know. I can't say anything confidently on that.
Yeah, I really don't think you're going to be seeing regular starters play in the second half in these games.
All right, that's the show. Much appreciate you guys watching. Like, subscribe. Stay tuned for Crunch Time if you guys are premium members. Thank you to Devin for producing the show. He was Grant. He was Squirrel. I was Dean. This was basketball. This was baseball. It was both. We're out of here. Holler.
Hey.